You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Monday, happy Moon Day, and happy Labor Day. We have a fun episode today because we're going to talk about not only the astrology forecast, the moons in Capricorn making lots of different connections that we'll go over, but we're also going to talk about the origins of Labor Day and bring up a birth chart or an astrology chart for Labor Day, when it originated and what was going on in the stars. Just a fun way to look at holidays. We have Nick joining us. Katie is here. Hello. Hi, Rachel. Hope you had a beautiful birthday. And also, can't forget the birthdays of the day today because we have to honor these very notable Virgos. Look at this. Freddie Mercury is a Virgo. Again, another singer a phenomenal singer who is a Virgo. Freddie Mercury. I mean, that voice. If you haven't watched the Queen documentary, I forget what it's called, Bohemian Rhapsody. And they talk about how he had like either extra teeth in his mouth or a really wide mouth. And that's why his voice was so powerful. Michael Keaton is also a Virgo. Love that. We love Michael Keaton. Rose McGowan, Raquel Welch, Kat Graham, Jesse James was a Virgo. Interesting. Wasn't he a sharpshooter? Makes sense. All about precision. Let's see, Bob Newhart. Anyone else we need to mention? And of course, if it's your birthday, if anyone you know is celebrating a birthday today, let us know so we can celebrate them too and give them a shout out in the comments. If you're joining me live, let me know, how are you celebrating Labor Day? What are you doing today? Do you have the day off? If you're joining me live, I'm assuming you're at least getting a little bit of downtime today. And do you know why we celebrate Labor Day? If not, stay tuned because we're going to get into it right now. So just a brief overview, a brief history of Labor Day. It's celebrated the first Monday of September here in the USA. Maybe if you're from another country, you don't even know about Labor Day. But it's one of those holidays. I mean, multiple people over the past couple days have asked, is it Labor Day or Memorial Day? You know, it's just kind of one of those holidays that falls on the calendar and we're like, oh, we get a day off work. It's a federal holiday. The banks are closed, you know, that kind of stuff. And we talk about Memorial Day being the unofficial start of summer, Labor Day being the unofficial end of summer. It's kind of this point on the calendar where like, okay, seasons are starting to change, but there's actually a pretty rich history behind Labor Day and why we celebrate it. So I did a little bit of research, aka I went to history.com, my go-to source for all things historical. And we've celebrated Labor Day since the 1800s. 1894 is when it officially became a holiday and was declared by the president as a federal holiday. But what's really interesting is the history that led up to Labor Day. So we were coming out of the Industrial Revolution in the mid-1800s, and Labor Day was born out of a need for people to have rest and have time off. Really interesting that we're talking about this too, coming up to the full moon in Pisces. That's a theme we're going to be talking about all week. Balance, rest, giving ourselves downtime in order to be recharged. And it's really playing into the Labor Day theme today. So at the height of the Industrial Revolution in the mid 1800s here in the United States, remember, machinery was becoming very popular. The US was becoming a powerhouse. This was coming out of the Civil War. So at the height of the Industrial Revolution, the average American worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week. 12-hour days, 7 days a week, usually in factories and in really poor conditions. And even though there were restrictions in some states, children as young as 5 or 6 were also working in factories and getting even lower wages, of course, because they were children, than adults. So there were like no labor laws. Even if there were labor laws, they weren't really followed. And basically, people were being worked to death. People were not getting enough time off and not enough rest. Of course, that comes now, we know, with health issues. I'm sure the conditions in factories, many of them were probably coal-powered factories. Not a good situation. So on this day, 140 years ago, in 1882, 10,000 workers took unpaid time off to march from City Hall to Union Square in New York City. And this was sort of the beginning of what we now consider to be Labor Day. Essentially, it was a giant labor strike in New York City, with the workers saying, like, this is not fair, because not only were they working so much, but they were also not even making livable wages. So this was the first Labor Day parade 140 years ago today. And it took about another, 12 years for it to officially become a federal holiday. But because I'm an astrology nerd, I, of course, had to look up what was going on astrologically on this day when the workers decided, we're done with this. We are rising up. We are revolting. So this is the birth chart or the astrological chart for the day that march happened, September 5th, 1882. I just did it at noon in New York City. I figured they were probably still marching around noon. And here's what was going on that day. Now, I won't pay too much attention to the rising sign because we don't know exactly what time of day it was, right? But what's really interesting, what immediately caught my attention about this, is what's going on with Pluto. So Pluto is at 0 degrees and 15 minutes in Gemini. Pluto's at 0 degrees, and Pluto had just moved into Gemini in 1882. We did a deep dive on Pluto for the USA's Pluto return earlier in the year, I believe on February 2nd. It's a whole episode of The Spiritual Journalist all about Pluto's transits through the signs and what was going on in US history. And the reason I immediately looked to Pluto when I looked at this chart is because Pluto is a generational placement. Pluto moves very slowly and marks eras in history. So I wanted to look at what was going on with Pluto, and no surprise, it's at a critical degree at 0 degrees. So immediately, Pluto had just moved through Taurus, all about determination, physical resources. There were a lot of conquests of land happening when Pluto was in Taurus. And, the Industrial Revolution, literally resources, using resources, creating resources, physical value, physical abundance. That was all defined by Pluto in Taurus. Pluto in Gemini marked the invention and the common use of the radio and the telephone. And it's really interesting that at the beginning of Pluto in Gemini, people were starting to have conversations saying, oh, you're overworked? I'm overworked too. Hey, this isn't fair. Hey, let's work together. Let's communicate with each other and put out mass communications so all of the workers in New York City go on this labor strike. So I thought that was really interesting right off the bat. Pluto at 0 degrees in Gemini, marking this kind of uprising of communication, of people working together, and labor unions started to be formed. So that has a lot to do with talks and negotiations and communications, but just kind of wild that Pluto was at 0 degrees. What else is going on here, though? Let's see. The moon was also in Gemini, conjunct Jupiter on this day. So very much about speaking up, sharing voices. I can only imagine, because of course none of us were alive in 1882, that there was a lot of chanting happening, a lot of people making their voices heard and wanting to get loud about their feelings on a day where the moon is conjunct Jupiter. Of course, the sun was in Virgo. We know that. Let's see. Mercury was at 0 degrees in Libra. So Mercury had just moved into Libra that day, all about negotiations, balance. We are feeling Mercury in Libra right now, actually. So we're familiar with this energy. And it's no coincidence that this Labor Day falls on the same day as that parade that happened. And that we are all having this conversation right now. So lots of conversations and communication happening around balance, fairness. Mars was also in Libra. So again, coming back to the principles of balance and negotiations, really fighting for justice with Mars in the sign of justice, like this need to go after just conditions. And Venus was also in Libra too. So lots of Libra energy and lots of Gemini energy, very communicative, very talkative. Let's see, anything else we can talk about? Saturn was in Taurus, lots of lessons around resources and determination and work, all those things. And it appears, where was Uranus? Uranus was in, let me see, at 18 degrees in Virgo, and the sun was at 12 degrees in Virgo. So not quite a conjunction. Some astrologers would say that's a loose conjunction. But interesting that the sun was getting close to Uranus. Of course, Uranus being the planet of rebellion, change. People were probably starting to feel that uprisal, like, oh, we need change. We need to revolt against the current systems. And if this rising is accurate, then it would have been happening right around the midheaven at this very visible point, right? So really interesting to just look back on history using astrology to see what the energy was like when we all started taking note of Labor Day, maybe celebrating this holiday, or at least starting the discussions with Pluto at 0 degrees in Gemini, with the moon in Gemini conjunct Jupiter, with Mercury at 0 degrees in Gemini, very much marking the beginning of talks and negotiations about labor. And again, one more thing I want to point out, if this is accurate, all of this is happening in the 6th house, which rules work. And there's a lot happening in the 10th house, which also rules our career and long-term goals. So this chart is like so much about talking and work. And yeah, I love it. I love when that happens. Let me know if you have any thoughts after looking at the chart, because I know you guys are all astrologers or astrologers in training now. Rachel says, gave myself permission to not be productive this past weekend. Girl, I didn't even bring a computer to Vegas and I still found ways to be productive. It's a Virgo thing, right? We did some yard work this morning, took a nap, really tired for some odd reason. Well, we're going to talk about what's going on with the moon, but you know, even just, I think you're going through a 12th house transit right now. So there's tiredness associated with that, but also I just had this conversation with my partner. We got back from Las Vegas yesterday and he was like, I'm really tired. I might go get an afternoon coffee. And I was like, your body's asking for rest. Like, that's why you're tired. We flew today. We've been traveling. Instead of like forcing it to be awake, just let it be tired. Our ancestors who fought for time off on Labor Day are like, hey, Rachel, it's okay. Just freaking rest. You're so welcome for the history education. Exactly. A great reminder to have rest and balance. Rest and balance. Things that we're going to be talking about a lot this week. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, Diane's tired too. Well, today's your day. Today's a day that many Americans fought for us to rest, so full permission. Let's talk about the astrology forecast, though. The sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Capricorn, so we have very earthy energy. And the Capricorn moon does want us to slow down in a lot of ways, right? Capricorn energy is just slow and steady. And yeah, I feel you, Rachel. Keep forgetting about the 12th house. Venus just entered your 12th house, so I'm just getting hit with nothing but the 12th house. Don't worry. The sun will cross over your ascendant soon, and that's just that nice little astrological rebirth that we wait for all year. So let's talk about what's going on with the Capricorn moon. No other planetary connections today, just that Capricorn moon. Here's a look at the current chart at this hour. You can see our current energy that we're working with right now. And the moon already did make some connections this morning, early this morning. We woke up under a T-square. So that's actually the only thing that's happened so far today. Oh, Ken, happy belated birthday to you, our Virgo man in the comments. I am so grateful that you joined us here today and that you made sure to remind us of your birthday so we get to celebrate you. Everybody wish Ken a happy birthday in the comments. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And workers, I mean, America was built on the back of workers, right? So today's not just a day to rest, but also to acknowledge, of course, collectively, all of our hard work over the past hundreds of years that made America this like very strong powerhouse of a country. But also, like, I love that you brought this up, Diane. A day to recognize your own accomplishments, your own achievements, and the work that you've done in your own life too. It's always a macrocosm and a microcosm, right? So it's also funny that the moon's in Capricorn, the sign associated with hard work and our career and our long-term goals, that we're talking so much about Labor Day and work. You guys are so sweet. Everybody wishing Ken a happy birthday. Okay, so back to the Capricorn moon. We woke up under this T-square with the moon in Capricorn squaring both Jupiter and Mercury. So I'm actually going to back up about 6 hours here, see if we can get the chart to play nice with us today. And there is that T-square, right? The moon over here squaring Jupiter, squaring Mercury. Mercury and Jupiter still pulling away from that opposition to each other, which brought really big ideas, big conversations, maybe even overwhelming ideas or conversations over the weekend. But this T-square situates the moon right between Mercury and Jupiter. So let's talk about these individual energies and what it means when there's a T-square. When the moon squares Mercury, it's like our head, our rational mind ruled by Mercury, is clashing with our emotions or our body even. The moon is very much associated with our body. So those of you who are saying, I'm tired, your mind is probably a little bit like, okay, we have the day off, like it's our to-do list, it's Virgo season, right? And your body with the moon in Capricorn is like, I am just tired, I just want to rest, right? So there's kind of some tension there. But when the moon squares Jupiter on the other end of this T-square, it's like we're optimistic, we're maybe overly optimistic, we're like, oh, we have so much we could do today, we want to jam pack our schedule, we want to go big. And a square between the moon and Jupiter can make us wake up with like a surge of energy, but it's really easy to burn out anytime the moon squares Jupiter. So what does it mean when these squares are playing out at the same time? I think a lot of us woke up with big ideas about what we could accomplish today, lots of optimism, but our bodies, again, craving that downtime. So if you're feeling a little anxious, like you're not doing enough, or you could be doing more, or your mind is restless, but your body is tired, just know that that's pretty on par with the energy of the day. And don't set expectations too high for yourself. Remember, it's a day off for a reason. It's okay to just be slow, be steady. If you have the energy, use it while you have it. But if you find yourself getting tired, give your body the rest it's asking for. So that's the energy we started the day under. We have a few more connections to talk about with the Capricorn moon tonight, and more positive connections, if you ask me. So let's come back to the current moment on our chart here. Ken says, also taking this week off from work. Perfect time, especially right after your birthday, to just give yourself a break. Just celebrate yourself, right? Take some time off, do some fun stuff. All right, so here's a look at the current chart. When the moon makes it to, let me see here, 13 degrees. The moon's currently at 11 degrees. So about 5 p.m. tonight, the moon and sun will lock into a trine, a harmony, a 120-degree angle. And when the moon and sun are in the same element, both in earth signs, it's like our mind and our heart, our mind and our body are easily talking to one another. So it feels like, maybe we woke up with that surge of energy or expectations or overly optimistic, but by the end of the day today, we're feeling more grounded, more confident, more rooted in our bodies, and just comfortable. Comfortable is the word that I'm feeling to describe this trine today. It's like our external expression matches our internal emotions, and that is a place of comfort to be in, right? So more balanced, coming back to balance, giving ourselves rest, being comfortable giving ourselves rest, and just if you're not feeling grounded, the moon and sun, both in earth signs, can really help you find that grounded state. So lean into it, lean into the slow energy as the day winds down, as maybe your 3-day weekend is winding down. 2 other points to make, and these are minor points. So I really think this trine is what we're feeling for the rest of the day, just kind of chilling out. I like it. More confident, more comfortable. Yeah. The moon squares Chiron, though, at 9 p.m. So the moon, once it hits 15 degrees, both Chiron and the moon will be in these cardinal signs squaring each other. Those of you who are with me regularly know that Chiron is the wounded healer. It represents our deepest wounds and our urge to heal them. And once we heal them, our ability to share what we've learned with other people and help other people along their healing journey. But when the moon squares Chiron, especially the moon in Capricorn, you know, we didn't talk about this. Let me just backtrack here to Capricorn energy just for a moment. You all probably know Capricorns. You've been watching long enough to know Capricorn energy, but Capricorn energy, and the reason I bring this up right now is because I feel like Chiron can really trigger this. It's like reserved, it's slow, steady, even a little bit modest, very practical and logical, but Capricorn, when they're triggered, it's like explosive, you know, like they can be quiet, they can kind of be cold and detached and in the background. But if you trigger a Capricorn, they will lay down the law. Like they are harsh and intense and stern, right? So with the Capricorn moon squaring Chiron, small triggers could become a little bit more harsh or feisty or explosive than we expect. So just be aware of that. Be aware that people or you might be triggered tonight. Again, this is around 8, 9, 10 p.m. that we're starting to feel this. And if discomfort arises while the moon is squaring Chiron, ask what emotion that is trying to reveal, what lesson that the Capricorn moon wants to teach you. You know, what are you needing to learn about yourself? Maybe what are you suppressing? What have you been too cold about that Chiron is forcing you to wake up to? Like, hey, you can't just keep suppressing this thing. It's going to keep coming up and come up more dramatically and painfully until you actually heal it. So kind of forcing us into healing through maybe outbursts or frustration or triggers. Something to keep in mind. Chiron is a minor body in our solar system. It might not affect everybody, but just good to know about. And shortly after, this is the saving grace. This is the saving grace here. Shortly after the moon connects with Chiron, it also connects with the North Node. Okay. And we'll talk about the connection to Uranus tomorrow. It doesn't actually connect with Uranus today, but here, we'll just jump ahead a few hours. Here we go. So you see here, the moon, where are you, moon? Here, Chiron, here, there's the square. And Lilith is also squaring right now. So we didn't really talk too much about the opposition to Lilith that will play out, but that's happening too, which can definitely bring up hostility, bitchiness, not wanting to be controlled. So if tension arises tonight, just know that it's not just you. There's a little bit of tense energy. But at the same time, look at this trine to the North Node and sextile to the South Node over here. So the North and South nodes are supporting us during this tension. And whatever is coming up right now is pushing you along the path you're meant to walk, is supporting you releasing the past to step into the future. And painful emotions can kind of light the path ahead. Like, where do you need to go? Where's healing leading you right now? So I love to bring up the North and South nodes just as those reassurances. Like, everything is happening for our highest good. Everything that's coming up right now is meant to come up and is meant to happen. I met someone yesterday who was a stellium in Capricorn and Sagittarius. It was interesting because I feel like that can be a balancing act, like wanting to be free, but with a practical outlook. That's an amazing description of it, Rachel. Amazing. I feel this a lot actually in my partner because he has a stellium in Capricorn. He is a Capricorn, but his ruling planet is in Sagittarius. He has Saturn in Sagittarius. I don't know if he has any other planets there, but I see his Sagittarius energy come out. And it is that balancing act. Like he just wants to be free and playful and have fun and be a lot sometimes. But like 90% of the time, it's like reserved and like very serious. And then when the Sag comes out, it's like, whoa, where did that come from? You know? So it's really interesting that these two signs are right next to each other in the zodiac, right? And we felt that over the weekend. We had that Sagittarius moon most of the weekend, very fun, playful, definitely that party energy. I don't know if you guys felt it over the weekend, but much more adventurous and spontaneous. And now, with all things in the zodiac, it's a progression. Now we're under the Capricorn moon and it feels much more practical and sober and serious, even on a holiday. That's kind of the energy I'm feeling today. A lot of people are like wanting to work today, even though it's a day off, you know? So really interesting when we look at the zodiac like a progression. Like Sagittarius feels like the weekend and Capricorn feels like that Monday morning, got to get back to work energy, you know? And when you have a lot of those placements both at the same time, yeah, it can be a balancing act between work and play. So that's what's going on with the astrology forecast today. Not a ton, just the Capricorn moon. And I was going to do a full look at the week ahead, but it's really not a ton going on until, of course, Friday. It's going to be a jam-packed show on Friday. We're talking about Mercury stationing retrograde, the full moon in Pisces early Saturday morning. There's a lot going on. There is a lot going on this weekend. Briefly, though, let me just pull up the calendar and see, is there anything else you need to know about over the next couple days? While I have you here, you know, might as well take a look at what's coming our way. Let's see. Really nothing happening. We have a few minor transits. Lilith is forming a sextile to the North Node in a few days, so we'll talk about that on Wednesday. On Thursday, the Sun is trine the North Node and sextile Lilith. So we have a lot of Lilith North Node activation that we'll be talking about this week. And you can kind of start to see that on the chart as the moon opposes Lilith late tonight and connects with the North and South nodes. So when we look at the chart, we see Lilith sextile the North Node, trine the South Node right now. So we'll go into that later this week. But just know that people aren't going to want to be controlled this week. That's going to be a theme as well coming up, especially during Virgo season, the feeling of control, wanting to be in control. Yeah, Lilith is definitely going to bring that to the surface. So that's something to be prepared for. And then, of course, like we said, on Friday, Mercury stations retrograde. We're in the shadow period already. You're probably starting to feel that retrograde energy kind of amping up, but Mercury is definitely slowing down this week, preparing to station retrograde on Friday, right around the same time as that full moon in Pisces, which will be, let me see, very early Saturday morning. I'm still in August. I can't believe it's September already. The full moon will be at about 3 a.m. on Saturday. So definitely feeling that on Friday as well. Yeah, lots of good stuff to talk about this week. So with that being said, tomorrow will be all about the moon again. Lots to talk about with the Capricorn moon again. And then we'll get back into major planetary transits Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I do also want to mention a few things happening in the background. Again, more Lilith activation. We talked about the North Node and the South Node connecting with Lilith, but Lilith is also squaring Chiron. And that we already talked about. That was exact on September 1st. So we're definitely still feeling the effects of that too. So, you know, if any like conflict has come up or feelings of, again, control, wanting to be in control, wounding around being controlled, or emotions being repressed, Lilith and Chiron still squaring each other. So again, something to keep in mind. Give yourself grace, give other people grace too. Calling me out with the Capricorn moon trigger as a Cap rising. I'll be taking lots of pauses today. I think you can probably relate to this though, right? Capricorn energy, especially if you're a Cap rising, people think like, oh, she's like reserved. What's going on? She's kind of icy. She's kind of cold. But if you get heated, it's like the dad voice. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when a dad is angry, because, Capricorn, the father of the zodiac, very big Saturn energy. And it's like that angry dad voice, that big booming dad voice. Like that is a Capricorn angry, like just gonna lay it down, I've been here and didn't say anything because I've been working away. Capricorn moon energy, right? Do you guys have Labor Day in Canada? Do you celebrate this? I don't know. So feeling it, also feeling Mercury messing with things. Yeah, my computer has been taking forever to do stuff. Mercury retrograde is upon us, my friends. Hi, Michael. Thanks for being here. Another birthday wish for Ken. Love it. Oh, you do have Labor Day also. Interesting. I'm assuming Canada had a similar progression as the US with the Industrial Revolution. A lot of, we share a lot of common historical trends. But yeah, interesting that you guys also celebrate Labor Day. My sister is a Capricorn sun, and you don't want to be on her bad side. She's a softie, though, at heart. Isn't that so interesting? Capricorns are just like, in my opinion, they can be really difficult to read. But then once you get, very similar to Cancer energy, once you get inside that icy shell, they're like, will cry like that, or will also flip out on you like that. Like you just don't expect it. You don't expect it. I see that in me for sure. Oh, and you're in Canada too. You have Labor Day. Interesting. Okay, let's move on to our affirmation of the day. Talking about this Virgo sun, this Capricorn moon. I am grounded. I'm grounded. Today's a really great day to feel into the energy of being grounded, stable, secure in yourself. Maybe you are having a nice rest day, a great time to get grounded when you're already in the energy of rest. But if you're starting to feel the chaotic energy of Mercury stationing retrograde, the moon is waxing, it's gaining energy, we're kind of starting to feel the emotions build, just a reminder to stay grounded. You can find that grounded energy at any time. You can literally just go out and touch the earth and let the earth receive any anxiety, stress, like let it soak it down from your feet and release. I love the earth. I love that we can just go outside at any time, and this, like, the earth will literally just like help us with our energy. Such a beautiful reminder. Okay, and today we're going to pull from the Starseed Oracle. I just felt like it. It's been a while. So, you know the drill. Let me know if you have any other questions, reflections, what you're doing for Labor Day. I would love to hear what's going on in your lives, how you're celebrating, if you have any traditions. Labor Day is one of those holidays that I don't think a lot of people have, like, traditions. It's just like, okay, let's barbecue. It's Labor Day. My friend describes me as fierce with a soft heart. Yes. Yeah. Very that Cancer Capricorn dynamic. Kind of like we have this like protective outer shell, but total softies on the inside. And remember, Capricorn is, the father energy, like we talked about. So yes, it can be stern and protective and very masculine and serious, but it's a reason it's associated with the father, because the highest qualities of a father are very loving and safe and nurturing, right? A good dad is nurturing. It's not just the mom. So I think that's a great way to describe Capricorn energy. All right. Shuffle up a little more here. Yeah, I think Labor Day traditions are like, let's go to the fair. Last weekend of fun before school. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I mean, school has already started for so many kids here in the US, which is wild to me. But yeah, it really does feel like this like last weekend before back to school or fall activities. I mean, fall will be here before we know it in just a few short weeks. So it feels like this like final peak of the summer season. Nick says, not doing much today, and good for you. We talked about it. It's all about rest today, right? All about rest. Kind of curious what difference in bold lines and lighter lines. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can definitely answer that, Ken. So, I mean, it'll be different on every site you use. There's different styles of just showing the transits. But basically, the bold lines are what's happening more exactly. So let's see. Like within a degree. When a transit is within a degree, it's a bold line. You can see like 16, 16, 16, 15. But if it's a few degrees away, if it's like a loose connection, so like 14 degrees is the moon, 18 degrees is Uranus right now, or the North Node, it's a lighter line because it's not exact. So when the transits become more exact, this site, AstroSeek, uses bold lines to show, hey, these are the transits to really pay attention to that we're feeling the most strongly right now. But all the lighter lines are still happening. That's kind of like what's to come or what's just past. So hopefully that answers your question. Everybody's excited for fall already. I mean, pumpkin spice lattes are out. So in the basic bitch world, it's already fall. Some schools start before. I mean, some schools haven't started yet. It feels like it's getting earlier every year. Yeah, the fall leaves are going to change. And that Pisces full moon too, it's like the ending of one season, the beginning of a next. We're going to be talking a lot about that this week. Endings, renewal, lots of fun stuff. Ready to bring out my sweaters and scarves. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad that answered your question. All right. For the beautiful souls joining me right now, let's all just take a deep breath together. Here we go. Breathe in and release. What do we need to know? Child of the Cosmos. Interesting. The last time I pulled this card, or I didn't pull it actually, my Capricorn partner pulled this card, Child of the Cosmos. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. And this is actually the illustration that's on the front of the Starseed Oracle. So seems like a strong message coming through. Let's see what it has to say. There is a mysterious force that governs all of life, an intelligence that tells flowers when to bloom and the tides and seasons when to come and go. That intelligence is within you too. It was there before you drew your first breath, and it will be there well beyond your last. It's the part of you that informed every cell what to do when you were in your mother's womb. It's harder to resist this force than it is to surrender to it, because Earth is a planet of polarity and free will. It's easy to forget that this intelligence exists within us. So often we become disconnected from this pulse of life and fall into the pattern of believing that we're separate or feeling that we need to go it alone. We can feel isolated and as if we need to figure things out for ourselves, to rely on our own strength. You're being called to remember the intelligence that's within each and every one of your cells, to remember that you are a precious child of a loving, gentle universe, that you have access to all of the intelligence, wisdom, strength, flow, and qualities there ever were, are, or will be. And to remember that if flowers know exactly when and how to bloom, then you do too. How can you surrender more deeply to the intelligent flow of life? It feels like even further permission to rest, to listen to your body. Your body knows what to do. There's an intelligent life force within you that's telling you, hey, we need rest, or hey, I'm feeling productive. Let's do something. So just to remember that your body is an intelligent being all in itself, and the Capricorn moon can really help us tap into that. Part of getting grounded, leaning into earth energy, is listening to those physical impulses that our body is sending us. So I love this. Slowing down and surrendering more deeply to the intelligent flow of life. You are a child of the cosmos. So beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today, for diving into a little history lesson about Labor Day. That was fun for me. As a Virgo with the Scorpio moon, I like to get to the bottom of things. I like to understand things. So now just kind of fun to know why we all are barbecuing today, spending time with our families, or most of us have the day off work. And as I said, tomorrow we'll be talking more about the Capricorn moon, leading up to this full moon energy by the end of the week, Mercury stationing retrograde. So we'll be walking through it every step of the way together. And yeah, lots of fun stuff to come. I'm grateful that you all took the time for yourselves today, that you showed up for this community today, all of your beautiful reflections, especially about Capricorn energy. That was fun. When is my birthday? September 18th. So it'll be on a Sunday this year. And I will not be here. I will be in Europe. So I'll give you more on this in the next couple weeks. There will be videos going out live for you guys, but I'll be on a little vacation for my birthday this year. I'm at the end of Virgo season. I'm just a few days before Libra season starts. So yeah, still a little bit to go, but I'm celebrating. If you're in the Sacramento area, come to Goddess Night Out this Friday night. That's kind of my birthday party this year, at least here locally. So it's going to be a fun women's dance party that we put on every month. And I've just decided to make all of September my birthday month. I'm going big. It's my 29th year, my anoretic year. We're going big, my friends. Thank you, Nick. Happy Labor Day to you too. Right? The flower part. Flowers know exactly when to bloom, and so do you. It's so perfect for 12th house energy too. Like, it's okay to be dormant just a little bit longer, to be in the bud or the whatever it's called before it blooms, a little bit longer before you bloom, Rachel. I hope you have a great day. Yeah, take a nap if you need it. I love it. Yes. Love all of the love and the comments. All right, my beautiful souls, thank you so much for making my day like you do every time I hop on the live stream. I love you all. I will see you right back here tomorrow morning. Blair Waldorf energy. Yes, I'll see you right back here tomorrow morning. But until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.